Stephen here, Gear Stuff and Things, back with another video for you. And yeah, this video is about this jam right here. That's the KSR PA50. It's a 50 watt 2-bass power amp for preamp pedals and modelers. I've got it ran into this 212 by the fine folks at Orange, mic'd with your traditional SM57. We're gonna get some tone examples, kind of hear how the thing sounds. I'm also gonna talk a little bit about it. Then we're gonna compare it to the PS170 from Seymour Duncan, because that is the primary power amp that I use with my modeler, and I'm just curious to hear the difference. Obviously, there are other videos covering literally this exact same topic and comparing these same items, but we all have our different tones, we all have our different feels, so I feel why not jump in. Plus, the fine folks at KSR were kind enough to loan me this jam to show it to you, so let's get into it. All right, so before we get into any of the sound examples, let's talk a little bit about the controls on the PA50. So on the top left, you're going to see a knob that says top. Top in this case refers to high end. So, you know, treble. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me put it out there for you in a way that might make sense. If you're someone who owns a, say, a 50 or 100 watt high gain tube amp, there's usually a knob on there that says presence. There's usually a knob on there that says resonance. These two knobs, both top and bottom, act as the same kind of thing. So we've got our top, that's adding the presence, a little bit of high-end sparkle and clarity, very cool. And we got bottom, we're gonna bring in some of those lows and a little bit of sub-frequency to really give it that oomph. Next to that, we've got the NFB knob. Now, because I am not a scientist, nor am I intelligent by any stretch of the imagination, I don't know exactly what negative feedback means, but what I have learned is that it basically equates to your feel being a little tighter or a little looser. That's at least my perception of it, and it's kind of how it was explained to me. But to be honest, again, not that smart. Either way, I tend to keep it pretty close to the center to get a happy balance of things. I have it pulled back a little bit right now just because that's what sounds best to me. This is definitely something, just like most things with guitar, that is subjective. You'll find the way that it sounds best to you. Below that, you're going to have some lights down here. These lights indicate the bias metering. That's a really cool feature. It can tell you how well the tubes are doing or how they're reacting to things, which is pretty nice. You have your input. If you don't know what that is, I don't know why you're watching anything. You need to figure out how to plug stuff in before you even start trying to learn other things. All right. Above that, you're going to have a switch. In that switch, you're going to have a thing that says guitar, and then the other part of the switch is going to show HiFi. Now, the difference I've found between the two is that one is brighter than the other. So if you have, say, a modeler or a preamp that's a little darker naturally, but you want to kind of give it a little more high-end sparkle, you can flip that knob up and get a little more out of it. I feel like if you're someone who is doing maybe, say, like the Polyphia type thing where you've got a ton of clean stuff going on and some really tight compression on your cleans, maybe running it in HiFi might be ideal for you. I personally find the guitar option a little better. It feels and sounds a little more like a regular amp to me. Beyond that, you got yourself a master knob. You can turn it up, get real loud, you can turn it down and get real quiet. I don't know, do you really need someone to explain to you what a master volume does? Either way, let's hear it. Let's hear some sounds. All right, so now we're going to check out some sound examples, and for those examples today, we're going to be using this right here, which is a Fender Subsonic Stratocaster with a single Fishman Fluence Modern version 3 in the bridge. I just have it on the standard active voice. Not going to get too crazy with this because the point of today is to check out this. Anyway, going into the quad cortex, which is on the floor. I'll put a little picture of it up in the corner. We are in a clean setting with some reverb, and that is going to be what we're hearing here through this Orange 212. Let's have a listen. really nice sounding. It does a thing that you kind of forget that you miss if you haven't been playing tube amps for a long time. And that thing is, well, having feel. And I'm not saying that the Quad Cortex doesn't have it, because clearly there's something happening between all of the parts here. However, when you're using a model, or typically, especially if you kind of live in the bubble like I do, where I'm usually using in-ears with it, you kind of lose some of that natural thing happening. Even if you're using a real cab with something like a Powerstage or something, you lose that thing that feels instantaneous from the moment your hand touches the guitar to the cabinet. I know that a lot of that is kind of snake oil, and there are people that will fight you to the death over this. Frankly, I haven't used a tube amp in quite some time, so having that again was pretty cool. I don't know if it makes me not want to use modelers anymore. I still love the convenience of that, but it is a noticeable thing, and it definitely feels nice. So now I've experienced feel and can compare it to having not experienced feel. Didn't even know I was missing it. I definitely was. All right, so up next is dirty, because what else are you here for but to hear it be dirty? Can it chug? Will it chug? I don't know, I'm not Ola. But I will play this guitar through that rig with my Quad Cortex set to the dirty channel that I use. That dirty channel in this instance features a Friedman BE100 with a tube screamer in front of it, and it sounds a bit like this, which hopefully is nice. Let's find out. Sounds chuggy and thick to me. Also sounds pretty brutal and cuts through wonderfully. Again, there is something about the feel of the low end in response to things that doesn't typically happen with non-tube based power amps. So that's really cool to experience. It's great that that is out there, and if you're someone who really loves the feel and response of a natural tube bloom, then something like this jam, if not exactly this jam, the PA50 is probably for you. But let's compare it to the Powerstage 170 with the same tones, and I'll let you be the judge of all of this. We are back with the Powerstage 170 from Seymour Duncan. We're going to be comparing the two, of course. I'm going to do it kind of in the same pattern, so I'll play some clean, I'll play some dirty so you can hear those, and then I'm going to have it pop back and forth between the KSR as well as the PS170, so you can kind of hear them reference-wise to get a feel. So on the Powerstage, I have the EQ set up fairly different than what is on the KSR, but I did my best to kind of get closer to sounding like the KSR with the PS170, which required me to add a little bit of bass, so we've got some of that sub thing happening that is quite natural with a tube, which didn't even know that was a thing until today. Pretty wild. Thanks, KSR. My treble is basically the center, mids are basically in the center. Yeah, let's hear the clean. And now we're going to hear the distorted channel. So same preset on the Quad Cortex into the Powerstage rather than the KSR. equally as chuggy. In my opinion, there is definitely a slight difference in feel. I will say that adding a little bit more low end to the Powerstage did get it a bit closer to having that kind of tube feel, but it's not dead on, it's close. Yeah, so now let's hear them back and forth or back to back, and then you can kind of give your own audible assessment of what you think about each one and how they sound and how they feel. Obviously, feel is hard to translate into video, as I've mentioned previously, but hopefully to some degree you get an impression of the differences between the two. Anyway, let's check out the AB, and then I'll come back to give you my final thoughts on the PA50. And I'm back to wrap it up and give you my final thoughts on the PA50 from KSR. And my final thoughts are, it's pretty incredible. If you're someone who loves tube amps, but you're starting to dive into modeling, but you're kind of missing the feel and the natural response of a tube amp and the natural tube bloom and kind of compression, then this is going to get you that and allow you all of the flexibility of your modeler as well. That's not to say there aren't other options out there, such as the PS170, which is a fantastic option. It just doesn't have that natural tube response and bloom, and it lacks in feel. Just having gone back and forth between the two of them in the room, because I know the in the room crowd is very curious, the Powerstage 170 feels slightly more sterile than the KSR, and I think a lot of that has to do with those added harmonic frequencies and things that are present with the tube that just simply isn't present with the PS170. That's not to say the PS170 sounds bad, it certainly doesn't, but it sounds a bit like there's a blanket on it versus the KSR, and that's kind of interesting. If you use a thing for a while, such as I've been using the PS170 for about 3 years now, with the Quad Cortex as well as Helix, I've never noticed that before today. And then plugging this in today, I noticed, oh yeah, there's kind of a thing happening with my rig that I'm not super thrilled about when I'm comparing the two. But I don't really notice it until I actually have both of them right next to each other. So, is it the end of the world? No. Does everyone out there need to rush out and buy one of these? Not everyone, but everyone that's a guitar player that's got the money, go spend it. No, I don't know. I mean, to me, if you're someone who really loves that tube response and feel, and if you're one of those amp in the room guys that probably isn't going to be going very far, and you just want the natural feel of a tube amp, but all of the flexibility and control of a modeler, then something like the KSR is your jam. And more specifically, this is your jam. The KSR PA150 is probably for you if you're one of those fellas or gals or whatever. It's going to get you that nice natural tube feel and response, bloom. You're going to get some of that nice low end thing that happens with tube amps, as well as some of that nice bright overtone and kind of artifact that just isn't present in the digital world. So the long and short of it is, if you can afford one of these jams and you love the natural sound of a tube amp, but you like the flexibility of a modeler, then you need to buy a PA50 from KSR. So yeah, that's it. That's the PA50 from KSR. It's an incredible tool. Really brings the modeler to life. Like I said, it feels like someone took a blanket off of my guitar tone. Pretty incredible. Just a beautiful tool. Really well built, incredible design. Can't say enough good things about it. Links will be in the description. And lastly, before the video is over, I want to give a shout out to Kyle, as well as Bill at KSR for being kind enough to lend me this, along with 2 other pedals, which will be featured in additional videos. So hang tight for those. There'll be more of that coming soon. But long and short of it is the KSR PA50, fantastic tool if you're someone who loves modeling amps and also loves tube amps and wants to combine the worlds. So that's this video. It's been me, it's been you. This is the KSR PA50, killing it. Can't wait to do another video. Until next time, bye.